the Twitter feed, aka the Periscope feed, says 0 viewers. What we should do, while I'm waiting for Jen, maybe Brendan, maybe Sarah, what I should do is blackmail the audience into saying that, or me saying that we won't do a show until there's a viewer. I guess then I'd have to watch Twitter, Periscope, YouTube, and Facebook, and wait till there's a viewer someplace. Hold a gun to your heads. We're going to do a show. We're going to do a show. All I need are some co-hosts. Well, you know, if you've ever watched the show of me doing it all by myself, you know I don't need any co-hosts. But they make the show more fun. You can see the title. Triangle Talk Show 116. Vote for Cal. Anyway, we may talk about that. We may not. You never know. So just waiting for the Zoom screen to flicker and people to show up. Gonna look at my tablet here. Every time I look at this, it's different. The kids, they keep changing things. Okay, so there we are. If I set it here, well, first of all, I want to make sure there's no sound coming out of it. Okay, sounds quiet. If I set it there, is that in the way of everything? It's in the way of too much. I can't quite see the controls. Well, yeah. What I want to see is if anybody says anything. And I don't know whether I'd see that or not. Is this this little button here? I think that's the one that turns on and off chat. Oh yeah, okay. Comments and reactions are hidden. Oh, hi Dave Campbell. Hi Jillian Riley. I can see there's people watching. I guess I'm going to have to do a show. I threatened not to do a show until there's somebody watching. Now there's somebody watching. But I'm not seeing like any little love things or thumbs up or care buttons float through. So we'll see. I know Jen is coming. And I think Brendan is coming, but he wasn't 100% sure. So we'll find out. And it's hard to do a pre-show without people on on the show to do the pre-show with. I'm all dressed up today. Well, I'm half dressed up today. Top half. Not just a ugly old ratty t-shirt. Cindy and I went out to brunch with her cousin and her cousin's husband at a fancy hotel in downtown Cary. Aha. It's Jen. We're live in the pre-show. And I don't hear you yet. I heard clicking and crunching.
Do you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Perfect.
But it sounds very distant, like it's not the right microphone.
Should be the right microphone.
Well, it should be. You have it. You have it clipped.
Yes.
To your inside your shirt somewhere.
Yep, I sure do.
But I still think that's not the microphone that's on. I think it's your PC mic that's on.
Not according to Zoom. It's just low.
Tap it. No, that's not the mic.
Let's see about these audio settings.
Pain in the butt.
Built-in microphone. Yeah, you're right. Where's my computer settings?
Actually, you don't want the computer settings. You want the Zoom settings.
In the Zoom settings, they're not showing the headset mic as an option.
Aha.
So I'm going into my computer settings. Notifications on sound. One more time. There we go. That'll do it.
I think that sounds better.
Yep. I've switched it over to the right mic.
Oh, we're doing the purple thing again.
Somebody's got to.
Yeah, it does that until there's a second person on the Zoom, and then I can actually switch in the Zoom. I guess I should look and see if I've got an email from Brendan, or maybe even a Reddit. I don't know how to control my phone anymore. Okay, no email. Looking at our Facebook, it says Dave Campbell and Jillian Riley are watching, but I don't know if they still are. I don't know if that stuff just hangs there forever or not.
You want to have a call-in show? You can have them call in.
We could announce to the world our Zoom login, or put it on Facebook, I guess.
Zoom has a phone number. They can call in.
That's true.
Be a fun way to start October, middle October, whatever we're doing in October. It would be a fun way to October.
Rocktober.
Rock the vote, though. Y'all should vote. If you haven't voted yet, please do. Vote now. Vote often.
I have.
And I found out from somebody, and I don't know how true this is because I did not vet it, that you have until the 13th of this month, this being the 11th, maybe? 10th? 11th. This is the 11th. So you've got like 3 more days to get your voter registration switched to where you live presently. And don't tell me, oh, I'll do it after I vote this time, because let's face it, after you voted last time, you didn't switch it. So what's going to change? What's new this time, right? Go
Right.
change your registration before you vote. Make sure your registration is updated, because they do purge voters from the rolls, and you don't want anything to get in the way of your voting. And the fact that you have moved in between last vote and this vote, if you have, obviously if you haven't, I'm not talking to you, but if you have moved in between last vote and this vote, technically you're not supposed to vote where you used to live. So you are primed for purge.
You could be purged.
Yep.
Here in my hand, having sat overnight in a mayonnaise jar sealed on the Funkin' Wagnall's front porch. Did I get that right? Does that reference mean anything to you, young lady?
Yes. Slightly. That's a comic, right? Web comic, cartoon.
It may be, but that's not the reference I'm thinking of. It's a like 3 Tonight Show hosts ago. Johnny Carson, does that name ring a bell?
Oh, I remember Johnny Carson. And by remember, I mean have watched reruns. I was not alive for that. Oh, so I'm at my house with my mom. Mom, you want to be on Triangle Talk Show?
No.
I heard
no.
that. No.
Funkin' Wagnalls.
Yes, I remember that. There's a dictionary, one of the most reputable ones.
It was a dictionary, that's true, but the comic
He's
bit.
agreeing with you about the dictionary. He means the Johnny Carson time.
On Pumpkin Wagnalls? Oh, yeah, when he would make up, yeah.
See, she should be on the show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do remember John. Why? Are we going to talk about Johnny Carson?
We are right now.
We can talk about anything we want.
She thinks it's wonderful.
Call me, so I'm taking the phone away from me.
She said he did wonderful stuff.
He did. Oh, crap.
Especially finding ambiguous ads and headlines. I love that.
Need to change a setting here.
I would like to follow up on last episode in the beginning, the pre-show of the episode, and now we are here in the beginning show of this one. I talked about fountain pens and my great love of fountain pens and how much I enjoy fountain pens, et cetera, et cetera. And I write with them, and I do all my correspondence with them. It feels very grown up. Since you are holding your mail-in ballot, if you would hold it up on camera a little bit more, this is not a thing to fill out in fountain pen. Fill it out in ballpoint pen. I know fountain pens are great. They're fun to write with. I personally enjoy writing with them. There's very few things that I will not use a fountain pen for, but you don't want that. You don't want that absentee ballot rejected for any reason. And incorrect ink, especially since most fountain pens can't take India ink, so actually waterproof black ink is probably not what you got around unless you special ordered it. Like, don't just fill it out in cheap old Bic ballpoint pen, and if you don't happen to have one, your neighbor will, and just ask your neighbor nicely. They'll let you borrow it for a couple of bubbles. This is not a fountain pen task. Don't even sign the envelope in fountain pen, because if it gets like a couple of raindrops on it, that signature is gone, unless you are using truly waterproof ink like Noodler's Bulletproof ink, which you probably don't have, because who thinks ahead about getting very specific ink?
I used this. It's Pilot G207. I believe it's gel of some kind.
That I believe is a gel ink roller ball or ballpoint. When it gets down to rollerball versus ballpoint, they have lost me in the nuances. But that's the kind of pen, or heck, a cheap old Bic pen, or like the free pen from your dentist because you got your teeth cleaned, or whatever. Just not a fountain pen.
Gerald Wong is watching. My brother Jay is watching.
There are reports on the fountain pen subreddit of people's ballots being rejected for fountain pen ink.
Because it just messes up too much?
Either it's gotten wet in transit because, the weather, she rains from time to time, or the optical scanner was coded for an oil or gel-based ink, and fountain pen ink is water-based, and so the scanner isn't seeing it because the printing on the ballot itself has to be ignored by the scanner, so your bubbling in is coming in as if it's just the printing on the ballot, and so the scanner's just not seeing it.
How do you know all this stuff?
Because I hang out on the fountain pen subreddit. I like my fountain pen.
You're smart.
And I'm in a deep quest to find the perfect pink ink. I want to exactly match my hair color.
Which I can see a little bit of brown rootage going on there.
Yeah, my hair grows fast.
Again, for those of you who are on the audio podcast, Jen is tilting her head forward and showing a little brown rootage.
But more importantly, whatever color this pink is.
That's what you want.
If you're on the audio-only podcast, just imagine any color pink at all, and then realize that finding exactly that in fountain pen ink is very difficult.
Yes, and speaking of hair, you may recall, excuse me, you may recall at some point in the past my hair was curly. Very curly. It is no longer curly. It is... It's pretty straight.
Your chemo curls are done.
Yeah, the chemo curls are out. I had them chopped off. Okay, so I have signed my ballot very, very carefully. These days, my signature is a on credit card receipts and things like that. But this is I think the number one way that ballots get rejected.
Bust out that penmanship.
If your signature doesn't match some time in the past you signed something. And my wife has witnessed it, and I will be carting this off to the Board of Education, the Board of Elections office on New Hope Road.
Feels like it, doesn't it?
East side of Raleigh. Yeah, I'm Board of Education. My brother says, I guess you need to get into the Facebook. My brother says he's a fountain pen person too, but he voted in person. Anyway, be carting this off to the Board of Education. No, I'm really stuck there. The Board of Elections office, not Post Office Box 695, but somewhere on New Hope Road, east of downtown. And I'll take it over there tomorrow. And I will take my wife's. I am authorized to take my wife's. She's a
close family member.
She needs to see the online verification thing. What do they call that? Do you remember what they call it?
Online verification thing.
Yeah.
I don't. I know what you're talking about, but that doesn't help name it.
Yeah, let me get here. There we go.
I am, in fact, in the group because you finally allowed me to be in the group for the Triangle Talk Show.
Voter intimidation is illegal.
It
Mind
better
the buffer
be,
zone.
but I'll believe it when people start actually getting arrested for it.
Okay, it's the ballot tracker that I was thinking of.
Ah, yes.
And there it is. Absentee ballot tracking, ballot tracks. And since I used ballot tracks to determine that they had mailed me my ballot. but they don't have this yet, so I can't track it. But you can go on there and track your stuff, and that's what Cindy needs to feel comfortable with turning it in rather than going to vote in person. So it seems to work. What else have we got in the pre-show? We can do like an hour's worth of pre-show.
We could. Let's knock out the how to find us, and then we can do an hour's worth of pre-show.
That's not the pre-show. That's the show. That's show. In the pre-show, ladies and gentlemen, in the pre-show so far, and by the way, there we go. We're in the pre-show. We have 0 seconds left, but we're still there. I thought of a much better title for last week's show. Last week we had Democratic candidate for North Carolina Agriculture Commissioner, Jenna Wadsworth. And I had sort of a leftover title that from Trump, from his, where did he, it was from the debate where he said, stand back and stand by. And I changed it to stand back and mask up.
I will be using that for our topic this week. So our topic this week, you will see as soon as we get done with the pre-show, but I will be using that quote for our topic this week.
Okay.
I have already, yes.
So I thought a better title would have been because we had Jenna Wadsworth on, My Generation. Get it? Or New Generation, or
I like that one.
Regeneration.
I like New Generation.
Regeneration.
I like New Generation.
Okay. So
Troxler's been in office almost long enough to count as a generation. What is it? 20 years as a generation? He's been there 15. That's entirely too long. It's time.
So a little bit late to the party. Is that are those boomerish titles?
I don't think so. I think they're pun titles.
Okay.
Which brings up that there is a Triangle Pun Championships. They've had to take a pause on it for COVID because everybody's had to take a pause on everything for COVID, or should.
They can't do Zoom puns?
I don't know. I guess they didn't. I mean, there's a lot of work to put together a show, and I think everybody was, didn't have, as they say in the mental health community, the spoons to take on that additional work in addition to the pandemic. But there is a Triangle Pun Championships, and I have happened to know for a couple of years, over the past decade or so, they've been doing it a couple of years. And by that, I mean like 3 or 2, as a couple is 2, the champions, the Triangle Pun Champions. And
the losers are punished, right?
Yes.
I can compete.
But the New Generation, the way he's got it spelled, Jenna, Generation, to be for Jenna Wadsworth.
That would be a pun?
It works. I think you should enter this pun championship the next time around. And any listeners who fancy that they can spin a pun even a little bit, please enter. Because as somebody who can't pun at all, but I like to sit in the audience when I'm allowed to sit in an audience because there's allowed to be an audience, it's great joy to me to just see all the amazing punsters the Triangle has to offer.
Where do they do this?
They used to do it at Motor Co. in Durham, and then at one point they moved it to DSI Improv in Chapel Hill, which has since changed its name. And I don't know if they moved it back to Motor Co. because there are various owners of the venues at various times. So I don't know where it's going to be next. But if you Google Triangle Pun Championships, and I will make sure to give it to Gary for the show notes later, you'll be able to find where the next one is located. It moves around from place to place, but the format is the same. You get up, you say a pun, somebody else says a pun. It's like a spelling bee. Everybody says a pun in order until somebody can't say a pun, and then they're out. And then you go another round. Everybody says a pun in order until somebody can't say a pun, then they're out, and so on and so forth.
So it's like a rap thing. I know I clicked allow. I don't want them to send me. Oh, well. Battle of the Puns. For sure, I don't want to subscribe.
So many pop-ups.
Yes. All right. Battle of the Puns, the Great Durham Pun Championship returns. Although this could be like 7 years old, this web page. You can never tell.
It could, yeah, because they've been there and back and forth and back and forth. And
they were ranked the number 1 pun contest in the world by Mental Floss.
Yes, Mental Floss is a listicle website that does listicles. But they're pretty intellectual listicles. I'd put them up there with BuzzFeed. Yep. It's... Oh, they're taking you to the Daily Tar Heel for that. The pun championships are great. Now Daily Tar Heel is one where you're gonna want to donate and read. Daily Tar Heel for a student paper is it's February 2020, so they were going back to Motorco. Yeah, that was lovely to think in February.
Yeah, I think it could have actually happened. I guess. I mean, it looks like it did, because we were still doing things outdoors in February.
But yeah, 2021 or 2022, please, by all means, enter the Triangle Pun Championships, because it is good stuff.
Good, clean,
and
honest
now back
fun.
to your regular scheduled Triangle Talk Show.
So, speaking of which, I
have no connection with that, except I'm an audience member, and I want to see more puns.
Okay, my brother Jay, I should send Jay the Zoom link because we don't have anybody else on the show. He was in a pun contest once, but forgot his material, so he had to punt.
I like puns. Other people groan. I love them. I think they are a very creative use of language.
Yeah. So we could have also called last week's episode the Triangle, because she got in trouble for doing a TikTok. The Triangle Talk Show. The Triangle Talk Show.
In post episode 115 style, I went and asked all of my friends about the TikTok. And granted, this is a very selective set of people because they have to be friends with me first. They all were like, yeah, we knew about it. We thought it was great. She just nailed the style. And then every single one of them also brought up the strip club video. And they were like, it's just like that. Whatever gets people to the polls, man. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I said the Democratic Party really wasn't supportive. And they're like, the Democratic Party needs to wake up. They're being handed something on a silver platter and they're not even taking it.
Need to bitch slap the Democratic. Oh, I forgot something here. I have a prop.
Do you not push the explicit
That
button?
happens later. I have a prop. The Triangle Talk Show prop department has gone all out for this episode. So let's see. Can I do this? Yeah, there we go. Now I will pretend not to notice that I have a prop.
I just want to say that, again, I did not watch that debate. And again, The Daily Show has not failed me in being able to summarize the most important points of a debate.
Daily Show, Colbert.
Yes. Yeah, I was
Seth
able
Meyers.
to. I know what The Fly is all about. I know.
Yep.
And how he didn't notice. Do you want this level of perceptiveness in your vice president? He doesn't even notice when he has a bug on his body.
Well, it was on his hair. He might not have felt it.
I can feel it when I've got things on my hair.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. And it should have made some noise. It was probably a pretty quiet studio. So anyway, I also
it doesn't bode well for being perceptive. Meanwhile, then we have Jenna Wadsworth, commissioner for North Carolina Commissioner of Agriculture. She was not only perceptive, she was able to, in less than a month, pick up the TikTok aesthetic and nail it. I mean, this is apples and oranges here.
Yeah, but I mean, she's in the generation.
No, that's the generation below her. I promise, because I'm in her generation.
It's her generation. Okay, so, but she's like 31. Mm-hmm. So she's too young? No.
She's too old.
She's too old. 31, too old.
For the TikTok is at the 20s.
So now, speaking of Jenna, a perfect segue to what I wanted to mention is that episode and that conversation. Once I finally let her start to talk, I could not get her to stop for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes or so. She just kind of steamrolled through her platform. And I get that fire hose effect when you talk to politicians. I guess here's where I should have Jay on the show, because he's a professional broadcaster and I only play one on TV. I I don't know if you noticed this, but there's just no way to slow her down, to put on some brakes and say, wait a minute, you just talked about 15 different things. I would like to spend 10 minutes on each one of them. But they just, and I, I pick one out sort of toward the end and then follow up on that. So I guess I need to go to broadcaster school to learn how to do that.
In all fairness, and you're right, it is an effect of politicians. The politician I've had the most interaction with who has done this the most in front of me, and I have because as you will see, I interrupted her and asked her to go back and define some terms at various points. But the one I have had the most and she stopped and she went back and she defined those terms, and that's great, and that's a thumbs up for her. But David Price, that man won't go back for nothing. He's like a railroad track, and his train is on the track, and once he's past the station, he's past it. That I have seen him speak multiple times, and I've tried to call him back to earlier points to ask him to, elaborate, define, clarify, and he'll just look at you funny, like, when did I say that?
I don't remember.
Like,
I don't remember
in the
talking
speech
about
you
that.
memorized and then spit back to us.
Yeah. Anyway, so is it well, I mean, on TV, on all the cable shows and the news programs and stuff, they interrupt all the time. So I guess that's not being rude. It's just being television. But
well, there are two styles of conversation, and I'm going to use the names as I know them from the internet, and I assume that the people on the internet with PhD after their name and doctor before their name are using it correctly because they're the academicians who coined these terms. But there is something called high consideration conversational style, and then there's something called high interactivity conversational style. And high consideration waits for the other person to be done before you ask your questions or your clarification or you ask for an elaboration or a tangent. Clearly, as should come as no surprise to any listeners of the Triangle Talk Show, that ain't me. I'm not high consideration.
Yeah.
I am, however, high interactivity, and those people not only are comfortable interrupting, but expect within themselves to be interrupted. They believe that these are the rules, that if I say something that you want to take an off-ramp on and let's go into that town and explore it a little more, you'll interrupt me right then, and that's fine. We're fine. Let's veer off. Let's explore that tangent. And and life has taught me, if nothing else, when these two conversational styles end up talking together, the high consideration person feels steamrolled. Well, and the high interaction person feels somehow as if the other person's not engaging with them or listening to them because they expected any feedback at any point earlier.
Zoom makes it harder because of the slight latency. And when I did the ham radio show, I was accused of interrupting people all the time. And the people who didn't like me very much would say, "Quit interrupting the guest." And there I felt more comfortable because I was more in my element. I knew what I was talking about. And I often knew as much or more than the person I was talking to about it. And, but in a conversation with Jenna, I didn't know her job or her field very well. So, although I could come up with lots of questions, I did not feel comfortable interrupting. Jay says, when does this start? I have to put up a shower curtain. He fixed the toilet, has done a load of laundry already, and we haven't started the show yet. And we're not going to for a little while because I got one more thing to talk about. For
those listening on the audio-only podcast, I'm making a long-suffering face look. And for those also listening on the audio-only podcast, if you rewind your memory back a little bit to when he talked about the props department, he's got a little EVA foam fly sticker stuck to it.
Actually, it's made out of... It's made out of two pieces of gaffer tape.
Gaffer tape fly stuck to his head.
Yeah, one black, one white. Carefully, looking at it on the monitor, it doesn't look real, but it looks
like a foam sticker. It looks great. So if you are listening on the audio only podcast and you do happen to be able to set yourself a mental reminder when you next get to a computer, just look up a little snippet of the video so that you can see it.
Yeah, I'll actually grab a piece of this video and here I'll point it out. And put it on the website. I put some gallery pictures that I steal from the show. So there you go. You'll be able to see it there without having to actually look at us talk, having already listened to us talk.
And for those of you listening on the audio-only podcast, I am once again, as I normally do, although you guys don't normally see me in my work clothes, wearing a North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences Bugfest t-shirt. So he's not the only one with a bug on, although mine is the dung beetle.
Was that in honor of the fly on Pence's forehead?
No, it's because those are my t-shirts. My t-shirts are always from Bugfest. That is one of my, we all have our causes that we volunteer for and care about, and this is mine. I like Bugfest.
And apparently dung beetles.
That was the bug of the year, whatever year this is from. I'm looking on my arms as if it's going to tell me. But oh, by the way, Terminex, this is the best part. Terminex sponsors Bugfest every year, and BASF has only recently gotten into it because they have their little bee thing out in the RTP. But yeah, Bugfest is my thing. I strongly care about insect education in North Carolina. I think it's important that we learn that bugs are life forms. They may not be furry and cuddly, but they're life forms too, and we can cohabit with them. So
the Terminex part doesn't excite you that much.
I mean, whatever gets their money, right?
Okay.
But yes, next year, please come see me at Bugfest. I will be at the table called Stump the Experts, because I have been volunteering at Bugfest long enough that apparently now I qualify as an expert. And the only thing that I'm good for there is being stumped. It's very easy. If you want to win a prize, stump me.
Bugfest.
Gary is now looking at Bugfest.
They
did it virtually this year, and it was a great sadness to all of us because we couldn't see people in person. Not because we didn't think that this was great to do virtually. Just COVID made us sad. We couldn't see throngs and throngs of adoring children and fans. But yeah, Bugfest this year went a whole week, but normally it is just one Saturday.
So they did kind of like the folks who do that stream thing, the pageant, it's not Eno, it's
it was the Beaver Queen pageant.
The Beaver Queen pageant. That's not Eno, it's a creek.
Oh, LRB Creek.
Yeah, they did that for a creek, and they also were virtual, and they also did it over an extended period of time instead of one day. So I think we have a thing going here.
It's a brilliant adaptation. I should say that the sad came from the fact that we live in the world we live in.
Yeah.
It's the amount of flexibility that people have shown is just amazing. And I am not in any way trying to make light of that work. It's just sad, the world we live in sometimes.
Whereas this podcast and many podcasts are just the way they always were. This is the way we've done these things. I mean, if you could come over here, you probably wouldn't drive a half hour to come up and be in the studio, because this is too easy. But if you did, then you would be sitting in that chair over there.
So Gary has one more thing on the pre-show, and that is to talk about the takedown. Then we can start the show.
Good old episode 111. You may recall that Warner Music Group and Universal Music Group each ordered a takedown of our episode 111, which was titled You Can't Handle the Truth, I think. Because we used a little bit of music and talked about music of the pandemic. Warner Music Group, but not Universal Music Group, also ordered a takedown of our episode on YouTube. And so, I mean, they were gone. You couldn't watch them. You could not watch those shows on YouTube or Facebook for a little while. I filed the formal dispute. I've done this many, many times. I said that the use of their music was covered under fair use, which it was. Are you making noise now?
Me?
No.
I shouldn't be.
Maybe it's Cindy downstairs. I don't know. I'm hearing something in the background.
My mom is on the phone in the other room. These are the fun parts about visiting your mother and having to do the Triangle Talk Show. Okay. So anyway, we used a little bit of music. I claimed it was fair use. Warner Music and Universal Music both agreed with me. They said, yeah, well, Gary, you're right. You're absolutely right. What you did was fair use, and you're permitted to put your show with our music on Facebook and on Facebook, just on Facebook so far,
both of them. They expressed that agreement at the last possible moment. Facebook gave them 7 days. And at 9:30 p.m. on the 7th day, they said, yeah, Gary, you're right. You can use this. And the video went back up after having been off Facebook for the full 7 days. So even though they agreed we could legally use the music the way we did, they waited 7 days to make that determination. Warner Music Group, for some reason, Universal did not complain about our use of it on YouTube, but Warner Music did, and it got taken down on YouTube. YouTube gave them a generous 30 days to respond, but more in my favor, they put the video right back up once I filed. And so they got 5 more days on YouTube. And even though they went on Facebook and said, yes, we agree with you, I got the little note that said that they agree with me and it was fair use. They are still maintaining that my use of the exact same music on the exact same show on Facebook is still a copyright violation. But it's not down on YouTube because YouTube puts it back up. It was blocked in Denmark for a while, but then I checked and we are now visible everywhere. So hello, Denmark. Welcome back to the Triangle Talk Show. Okay. Any friends in Denmark? You muted yourself.
Because I muted myself due to my mom's phone call. No friends in Denmark presently. All of the Danes that I am friends with happen to be in the U.S. at the moment and are stuck here. Thanks, COVID.
Oh, okay. So they've been able to watch us, but their friends back home have not. We have a huge audience in Denmark. Okay, Jay, this, at the 32-minute point, is when the show begins. From the studio in the bonus room above the garage on the north side of Cary at the foot of Mount Belzoni, this is the Triangle Talk Show.
Let's cut the crap, kid. I want to know what the big talk's all about.
I don't think we should talk about this.
Then we talk all night. Let's give 'em something.
If you look very carefully on the logo that I've put on the screen, at the top of the microphone, can you see what's there?
A teeny tiny little dragonfly.
There's a fly.
Let's tell it like it is and how it could be. How it was and, of course, how it should be.
Keep that motor mouth moving morning, noon, and night. If you keep on talking, baby, you know you're bound to drive me away.
I'm still actually waiting for the takedown for using any of that music, but so far has not happened. I am Gary Pierce. I guess I'm still I'm still Mr. October because it's still October. Okay, yes, you're right. Your turn.
And from my mom's dining room in North Raleigh, sequestered near the North Raleigh IHOP, and upstairs in a room with trees behind me and a lamp, I'm Jen, host of NannyCast.
And now look very carefully at the corner of your title screen.
I also have a teeny tiny dragonfly, although I want it to be a damselfly.
I think it's a regular. I think it's a regular fly. I'm not sure.
It's got quite a tail on it for being a regular fly.
I don't know. I stole somebody's image of a fly off the interwebs, and
looks absolutely nothing like the flies that I used to have to. So when you do genetics experiments in a lab where you use flies to do breeding, you fly the chemical you expose the flies to make them go to sleep so that you can take them out of your test tube and count them is called fly nap. And I was going to say that looks nothing like the flies I've had to fly nap.
Yeah, whatever. It's a fly. Some kind of a fly.
Drosophila melanogaster.
Episode 116, Ignorable Infidelity, for October 11th, 2020. Vote for Cal.
Now here's where stand back and stand by works.
Okay, tell me.
But first, we got to go over the boilerplate. The Triangle Talk Show is a podcast with some video elements. I'm going to skip all of that because I summarized it as with some video elements, but really we are a podcast.
First and
Gary
foremost.
wants us to discuss all the video elements. I am not doing this. I wish you guys could see my screen. I just scrolled past like a half a page.
I can show them what.
Talk about anything
I can
we
show
want
them
to.
what you skipped.
We aim more or less at things of interest to the people who live in the triangle, which Gary has decided to call triangularians with his little hanging pants symbol thing. Sometimes it's local, sometimes we go broader, sometimes we go whole statewide, as when we discuss statewide offices like Commissioner of Agriculture, which, by the way, I think is a really cool office. Just like I think Soil and Water is a really cool office. I like the land. We are unfair and unbalanced. We lean left, and lefter. We will be fighting over who is more liberal. We definitely do not go to the right.
I'm pretty sure you're more liberal than I am.
Except for when I point out that financially the liberal thing is also the best financial thing to do too, which should appeal to the conservatives in the group, because you are fiscally conservative. If you are conservative, that's the whole point of what the conservative means. We get political. We always get political. Gary wrote, except sometimes we get political. We don't. We always get political. We can find a way to make anything political. Our website is triangletalkshow.com. Our Facebook group is Triangle Talk Show. Our YouTube channel is Triangle Talk Show. Gary continues to want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, even if you never, ever visit it ever again, because if we get 1,000 subscribers, he will get to do mobile live streaming.
We're up to 145.
Which doesn't work in a pandemic, the mobile live streaming, but he'll feel he accomplished something.
Yeah.
However, our Twitter and our Periscope are at Talk Triangle, so that's where we get a little weird. But nobody uses Twitter or Periscope, so don't even worry about it.
We're there, though. Let's see if anybody's watching.
Podcast-wise, we're everywhere.
There's 0 viewers.
Podcast-wise, we're everywhere you already found us. Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. Gary wrote a parenthetical note. Who knew there was Amazon Podcasts, man? What do you think your smart speaker's playing? He wants you to like us, review us, and rate us for no reason other than because you can.
I don't want you to. I put that because every other freaking show on podcast land says that.
Like us, review us, rate us. Tell us how much you really like the hanging pants triangularians gang sign.
It's because I didn't know this was air quotes. I thought this was air quotes.
And now our boilerplate is done, so we can go on with the show. For the vote from Cal anyway, this is covering the fact that Cal Cunningham, a candidate and very qualified one for state senator, on the Democratic ticket, had his mistress expose that he wrote the most boring ass sex text messages in the world.
I'm gonna kiss you all over.
They were the kind of low energy thing that you would expect from somebody who is not interested in putting forth energy into an affair, but is interested in putting forth energy into a Senate position.
So I take it you're a Cal fan.
I am not really a Cal fan. I find him to be as interesting as a dry baked potato.
Which, by the way, you have an icon for, and when you're home on your Zoom, you can become a potato.
Yes,
maybe not dry and baked yet because you're still underground. But no,
I find him about as interesting as a dry baked potato. I did look into his qualifications, and he is highly qualified. And
tell me about them, because I really haven't heard a lot about his qualifications.
He is capable of stringing sentences together. He has a working knowledge of civics, and he understands how to look at the further-reaching implications of any existing legislation.
Okay.
Also, he's willing to represent every citizen of North Carolina, not just the ones who voted for him. Compared to who? Tillis? Tillis does not qualify for. Tillis doesn't have a working knowledge of civics. Tillis isn't willing to represent the entire citizenry of North Carolina, and Tillis is definitely not good at looking at the far-reaching implications of legislation he proposed. Like I said, Cal Cunningham may be a dry-ass baked potato. This may be a really low bar, but like the incumbent doesn't meet it. So Tillis has got to go.
There's some similarities with him and Biden in that. I mean, it's the safe candidate.
It's sad. It's sad that we exist in a world of safe candidates. But what he also is having, or did, I don't know if it's still ongoing, is have an extramarital affair with a partner who was also having an extramarital affair. And I understand this is a moral problem. I would not want to marry Cunningham for a variety of reasons. This is just one of them.
What's that game? Something Mary?
Fuck, marry, or kill.
Oh yeah.
Now you have to press the explicit
Now
button.
we do. Yeah. Fuck, marry, or kill. So which one? Not going to marry him. Probably
not going to marry
fuck
him. Don't want to. He's not my type. Don't want to fuck him.
So,
absolutely don't want to kill him.
So it must be.
I guess we'll just send him.
Elect, marry, or kill.
No, I'd send him off to the Senate and make him do my bidding. Like,
and
why not? But I do understand this is a moral issue. I do understand. I especially hate sneaks. I have no patience for that. However, I also respect his wife. And I respect that his wife needs to take the lead here.
Do you think she knew anything about this?
I don't know. And it's none of my business. I live in a world where there are lots of people who are in ethically non-monogamous situations. And sure, it's not traditional, and you certainly wouldn't become a saint for that kind of sex life or love life. But I believe that what happens when there are consenting adults is none of my business. They consented to it. Let it be. That said, even if it wasn't, even if this was a sneak move on his part, even if it was non-consensual, I'm going to stand back and stand by until his wife says that she needs the support, because she needs to take the lead. And I am not going to treat her as incompetent by going in and doing her work for her. I'm going to let her take the lead. That is how we straighten another woman's crown, ladies and gentlemen. That is how we support one another.
So I'm no interest in tutting and finger pointing and wagging and stuff about that behavior. What? Cindy's watching. Hi, Cindy. My wife is watching. She wants to hear my thoughts about the sex thing. No interest in wagging my finger at him for that. The question is, what does this say about his integrity, character? No, that's not really where I want to go. His thinking he could get away with this while running a United States Senate campaign. What does that say about his judgment, about his ability to figure things out?
I think it says that I'm more concerned with who he hires to be a support staff than if he doesn't hire support staff, then that's fine. Like that, then his judgment is at issue. But his support staff is supposed to rein him in. We're all human. On top of that, I think it shows that he is an impulsive creature, which we all are sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that I suspect that if he weren't waging a Senate campaign, there might have been divorce proceedings that predated this. I think the fact that America insists that you be coupled up to run for office has preserved what is probably a marriage that has run its course a little too long.
But that's a point I had not even considered at all. That because I don't care, but I got to realize that I don't care about a lot of things that a lot of people out there in the electorate seem to hang on to a little too hard.
But also, I don't like sneaks. And I do take serious issue with the fact that he wasn't forthcoming here. And when he is elected to the Senate, because look who he's running against. Tillis, you don't want Tillis. Tillis is no better at this than Cunningham, because Tillis also keeps secrets. I'm going to watch and make sure that Cunningham has learned his lesson about being forthcoming.
Yeah, so far not doing such a great job of that. This is from the News and Observer. Well, this is on their website, but it's from that one news conference.
I'm sorry. I just before you play it, Cunningham declines to address questions about whether more women would come forward, is what it says on the screen.
Yeah.
And this is just me and my personal taste in romantic or sexual partners. I am laughing to myself, thinking he's lucky he found two.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, let's see what he says here.
I'll ask again. Do you think that this is this going to be hanging over your campaign? And do you think it's for Senator Tillis he is asked about of another person, another woman, expect him to continue, and is that a fair question?
Well, look, as I made clear, Steve, Senator Tillis doesn't want to talk about his own failed record. So, of course, he's going to want to try to talk about something else. And let me just, once again, look, I've taken responsibility for that I've caused in my personal life. I've apologized for it. I've said what I'm going to say about it. I've answered the question and these questions. North Carolinians want me and their senator focused on them because that's what they expect. And that's what I'm going to do, Steve, and I'm grateful for your question.
It was a pretty awkwardly posed question.
It was. I do agree with him. If Tillis is only, and this is, coming out of that Tillis camp, but I guess they didn't have much material to work with. Tillis's only comeback is to try and attack Cunningham's personal life as a deflection against Tillis's own inability to be the senator that anybody would need, inability to be a bare minimum senator. And whether Cunningham had sex with 3 potatoes, 17 potatoes, or 2 women with questionable judgment and men, and I only say that because he is so dull, honey. Let me take you out to the club. We find you somebody better, I promise. It doesn't change the fact that Tillis is not good at the job. And if it doesn't work as a deflection, we've learned, don't look over there at the shiny thing. Like, you're still being bad at your job, Tillis, you gotta go. And Cunningham is one of 2 other options. There's Cunningham and then there's the Libertarian candidate. So either one, just not Tillis.
Yeah. I don't know that Tillis is bad at his job. His policies, the things that he votes for, the things that he wants to get done are a 180 from what I want to see get done. So
Tillis outright has stated that he does not represent the general citizenry of North Carolina. He only represents those who will vote for him again.
Well, that makes him good at his job for some people.
So if you call his office and ask him to do things on your behalf, you will get a very kindly worded fuck you letter.
Okay, so you were talking about constituent services then. He's bad at that.
This is his job.
Yeah, unlike, say, for example, Jesse Helms, who didn't matter which side of the political spectrum you were on. If you needed to get something done and you called his office, he would instructed his office to try to get it done if it's something within their power.
Which is why I'm saying Cunningham, God bless him, he needs a lesson in how to have a relationship like a grown-up. But his constituent services are going to be for all of his constituents. And that seems like the most basic bare level bottom of the barrel scraping right there, but Tillis can't manage it.
Have I ever mentioned that I had my hands around Jesse Helms' neck at one point?
Was it because of a photo op, or was it because security hadn't pulled you off of him yet?
I was the audio technician on a video shoot, probably the last one that he did because his mental state had declined quite a bit. And I was hanging a wireless lavalier mic on him. So I'm futzing around there to get the microphone placed. And I'm at that point, probably 55, 60 years old. He said, "You're a good boy. You're a good boy." I want to
point out that we're talking about Jesse Helms as a more positive senator than Tillis. Then we're wondering if we should vote for Cunningham instead.
I have voted. I got schmoo on my envelope already. I've voted. It's in there. It's a done deal unless I just go ask them for a replacement. So it's Cunningham. Cunningham.
The ridiculousness of this conversation. We all acknowledge Tillis is not the one to vote for. And I am there were never Trumpers. I'm absolutely no Tillis. Now, Cunningham can be a one-term senator if that's what it needs to be, but we need to get Tillis out of office, and we need to get Tillis out of office fast.
Yeah.
And again, I would not marry Cunningham. He is definitely not somebody that I'm going to elect as Pope. I don't want him to date my brother. which is a good thing because my brother is not on the market. He's engaged. Cunningham as a human being is not somebody that I want to invite into my social circle, but his constituent services are a step up. So please, dear God, let's take that step up. And also, Mrs. Cunningham, I got you, girl. I don't like sneaks any more than you do. I got you.
Spit take. We don't know what his constituent services are. We know what he promises that they will be.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Tillis promised exactly what he delivered. So
okay, so honest. He's honest.
Yes, in a way that he left out all the stuff in his personal life is honest. Yeah. I mean, Tillis is also not somebody I would want to be married to, by the description of what has come out of his first and second, who, to be fair, are the same person, and third wife's description of what marriage to him was like.
The debates were pretty dull. So the stuff that came out about Cunningham came from a, until now, unknown, no one ever heard of them, very right-wing sleaze site called National File. And now they are running with it like crazy. Their first shot landed. Their first shot landed and hit the mark, and that's what Cunningham has said. Yes, it was true. I did send these texts to Guzman Todd. And then they followed up with more allegations that the News and Observer is calling unfounded. They start, let me see if I can get this on the screen here. They start with this clip out of a Facebook page from a North Carolina lawyer named Aaron Brinkman, who says, in a response to somebody that we can't see on Facebook, that he's been having an affair with a good friend of mine since 2012. Not the woman mentioned in the story. So that's woman number 2 that I think Tellis is referring to. Needless to say, my friend was devastated, but my feeling is if they'll cheat with you, they'll cheat on you.
I don't disagree with Aaron Brinkman's statement. If they'll cheat with you, they'll cheat on you.
And so Aaron Brinkman has gone under radio silence. No one can get her to say anything. And we don't even know for sure that came from her. But and it wasn't a post. It wasn't a post somebody put on Facebook that said, "Attention world, look at this." It was just a reply to something, and we don't even know what she was replying to.
Can I take a moment and turn this slightly positive and away from Cal Cunningham? I'm not speaking about him at this moment, but I'm saying this.
Okay, wait a minute. This is, I haven't pushed this button in a long time, so I think this is going to...
It's not really a rant. I'm going positive.
But I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. Sometimes if I haven't queued that up in advance, it kind of disturbs the stream a little bit. So we needed to... Okay.
Not everybody is cut out for monogamy, and that's okay. That is not a failing. There is a world out there called ethical non-monogamy where this can be okay. The thing is, you have to discuss it ahead of time, and you have to loop your primary partner in. You have to be open and forthcoming at all times, but it is fine. The statistics on which I'm pulling from Esther Perel, who is a world famous infidelity therapist. She deals with marital infidelity all the time. The statistics show that the majority of committed relationships will have infidelity in them, and that the problem with that isn't so much that you are seeking a different person to have a sexual or romantic or even just emotional sounding board. The problem with that is that you're doing so sneakily. So that's where ethical non-monogamy comes in. If it is not sneaky, if everybody's okay with it, it's fine. So don't get caught with your pants down. Talk.
So which versions of this are you good with? I mean, open marriage, I guess, is sort of the clinical term.
Open marriage is one of them. Polyamory is another, although polyamory is a little bit more structured than an open marriage would be. I'm good with all forms of ethical non-monogamy. Obviously, you would have to know going into it if somebody has a primary partner and you're coming in as, a secondary, a tertiary, or just a fling, you're never going to get that primary partner. out of them. Like you come in also expecting them to meet you at the level that they need you for. But this is, I mean, there's a way to do this. And we have lived in a very Puritan society that would rather name and repress than allow, sexuality is on a spectrum, monogamy is on a spectrum, with monogamy on one end and polyamory on the other, but you could be anywhere in between. And that gap in between is called ethical non-monogamy. There is hope. If you are looking at this and you're thinking, oh God, I can relate to Tillis. I've had this affair and this affair and this affair and my spouse doesn't know. Maybe it's time to sit down with your spouse and go, hey, honey, I hope I've been everything to you that you need me to be. But I also need some other people in my life. It won't take anything away from you. Are you cool with this?
And you're taking a risk, because that may just end things right there. I had no idea that's who you were. So goodbye. Hit the road, Jack.
Yeah, it may, but at the same time, do you want to be with somebody who you have to repress and sneak around who you really are with? Like, if you've picked somebody to be your spouse, that should be the person you are the most vulnerable with, most comfortable being yourself, most able to have those uncomfortable conversations. And if it isn't, why the hell are they your spouse?
I'm working on a response. About 4 of them are going through my brain right now, and none of them have gelled enough to be able to come out my mouth.
Can I anticipate one of your responses is going to be, well, I don't want to hurt my spouse. Like, I love them so much. I care so much about them. I don't want to offer them pain.
Yeah.
And the answer
is, maybe this is something that's bubbled up since you got married, or since you started this relationship. But that wasn't the case before.
I'd say, Gary, you've been married a long time. You know that things bubble up. That's what they do over the course of a long marriage. And so you address them when they bubble up. They can't just bubble up and you pretend they're not there.
Or maybe just having been a product of our very puritanical society, it was there all the time. You did repress it because you said that's not the way things are supposed to be, and I didn't know I could do it some other way. And then it just eventually overwhelmed you, and you said, I can't stop anymore.
So that's the perfect time to have a conversation. Because if you have picked this person to be your spouse, you have picked this person for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, and in uncomfortable conversations. Right?
Yeah. Well,
so now it's time to have an uncomfortable conversation. And if it ends things, at least you will end things on a kind, loving, accepting note where, or sometimes I've seen in marriages where somebody has said, listen, I've learned about this thing called polyamory. It absolutely explains the feelings I've been feeling inside my whole life. I've realized this is me. I understand that you are probably monogamous. I'm going to put it out there that this is me, and I'm going to leave the table open for brainstorming for how we're going to make this work, because I am going to go crazy if I have to repress who I really am anymore. I can't be closeted on my sexuality in this regard any longer. I need to talk about it, but I want to do it in a way that makes us work as best we can or honors you. And then the partner has said, listen, after deep, deep discussion and thoughts and talking with therapists and, self-reflection, I am straight monogamous and I cannot accept you bringing anybody else into our relationship. And then the first person has come back and said, maybe I can try being in the closet a little longer. That's possible. There's all sorts of, but you've at least talked about it, so you can at least be sensitive to one another. You never know where it's going to go, but that's the point of a spouse.
I am all in favor of communication. I think it's a great idea. If these are the things that are going on in your life, better to communicate them than to not. I just don't have a lot of hope that things are going to, in very many relationships, that things are going to go as smoothly as you are anticipating them to go. I see more fireworks. Yeah,
that's sad. But
yeah,
again, this is, when I pick a spouse, I think that we can communicate with. Because come what may, we're going to be in that bunker for something. We're going to be under attack for something, and we need to be a team.
Yeah.
That said, back to the initial point, at some point before you cheat, have this conversation so that you don't cheat. If it's like converse or cheat, please pick converse. Please don't pick cheat.
Yeah. Well, the guys out there going, or women, oops, too late.
Yeah, but like I'm just trying to put it out there that you have an option. The option is to talk about it. You don't have to not talk about it and jump straight to cheat. Please talk about it.
Okay, so I listed some under the category of what do we think, some possibilities. On the one hand, none of our business, which I think you're in that camp. Doesn't affect how we do his job.
I'm in that camp.
Compared to Trump.
Trump's not a senator.
And kind of everyone does it.
I do. The majority of Americans do it.
Yeah, and I
wish it didn't.
Yeah, these days in political discussions, everyone goes to the extremes, up against the wall, as fast as they can, as hard as they can. And I still like to kind of balance and look at these thoughts. So those are on the one hand, and I thought there may be more on that hand that I haven't thought about yet. On the other hand, it kind of shows bad judgment. Just in and of itself, it may show bad judgment just to do something like that, as you were describing, without having
there's
that discussion
no impulse
first.
Control there.
Yeah. But in thinking that he wouldn't get caught in a U.S. Senate race, that is like, what kind of an idiot are you?
He was thinking he wouldn't get caught in a U.S. Senate race. I just think he had no plan for getting caught in a U.S. Senate race.
Run that by me again.
I don't think he thought that he was going to get away with it. I just don't think he wanted to plan for not getting away with it. I don't think he had a plan for it.
And so we'll cross that bridge when it hits us in the ass.
Yeah, I don't think he was that blind, and he lacked that perceptive capacity.
You see, here's the problem. Here's the difference between you and me.
Because what you saw in that video, he wasn't angry, and people are angry when they're caught with their pants down. He wasn't angry.
I mean, a good point, but I know what it's like to think with my dick.
I mean, we should all know what it's like to think impulsively.
Yeah, but there's impulse and there's think with your dick, and they're. I mean, they may be in the same direction, but one of them's way out behind. A senator with bad judgment, would it affect how he does his job? Could he be blackmailable? Well, not anymore.
Not anymore. I love it. Yes, this was the point that somebody was asking me, like, why should we as citizens care about what's going on in their private lives? And I said, well, because, and here's why an affair is a problem. I mean, aside from the moral issues and the fact that you were straight up lying to your spouse if you promised them you wouldn't be sleeping with anybody else and then you are, like, that's no good. But it's because you would be blackmailable. There is something somebody could hold over you. But the solution to being blackmailable? Put it out there for everybody in public to see. He's not blackmailable anymore.
Isn't that what Bezos did?
Yeah. It's anybody who gets a security clearance. Yeah. I had a security clearance years ago, and they came in, and they went down the basically opposition research list, like, do you do drugs that are illegal? Have you been unfaithful to somebody? Are there big secrets or lies or anything you're ashamed of? Anything at all you're ashamed of, even if it's normal, like, I only have 5 fingers on my left hand. This is a source of great shame. Like, they make you publicly announce it before they'll give you a security clearance.
Okay, so it's not just they want to know. They want you to make it public.
You have to make it public because then nobody can use it as a weapon against you.
Because if the agency that you're going to work for knows about it, then maybe you're covered, maybe not. I mean, at least they would know if you seem to be suddenly gotten real squirrely about things. But yeah, I guess you've got to make it public.
You've got to make it public so that nobody can threaten to tell your mom about, the dick pics that you sent your, girls on Tinder or whatever, in order to get state secrets. Like, your mom's going to know about it because you told your mom already. Like, it makes you blackmail proof.
Yeah.
And again, it's any source of shame you may feel. So there are certain people, like perhaps the President of the United States, who doesn't feel shame over anything.
Yeah, not blackmailable.
And then, he may have engaged in some bad behavior, but he can't be blackmailed for that either because he's like, oh, you're going to tell him? Cool, that saves me some trouble.
Now, what he's getting blackmailed for is his finances.
Yes.
Because that's what he's keeping a secret. The women, who cares?
But blackmailable. Not anymore. Cunningham is not blackmailable anymore. And strangely enough, despite my great distaste for him as a sneak, I kind of like him better as a Senate candidate, because I ain't seen anything out of Tillis that's him trying to avoid being blackmailed, and I know that boy is not a choir boy.
So are you good with what Cunningham has done so far as being all he's going to say? I mean, the stuff about people really want to know what I'm going to do as a senator, and that's all I'm going to talk about. That's just that's crap. No, that's just sidestepping and crap. If he were to,
I want to know what he's going to do as a senator. I don't want to hear about his dick.
Of course we do.
As a senator, I'm trying to retire from the position of Senate.
Yeah.
Please tell me what you're going, like, I am still in the interview stage. Please tell me, well, I'm not because I voted, but please tell me about the job I am trying to hire you for, not about the job I don't want you for anyway.
All right. I want him to do a better job of coming clean. I don't think he's coming as clean as he needs to be. Whether there's this second woman that, what was her name? Aaron.
I would like
Aaron Brinkman had allegedly described.
I don't need a body count, but I would like him to say I have had affairs with a plural S if there is more than one, just for the sake of being blackmail proof.
Yeah. Which will work for you and would probably work for me. Would it doom his candidacy out there in the world?
I don't know.
I mean, he's got advisors all over the map, but right now they're all panicking.
If he weren't running against Tillis, maybe.
Yeah, right now he and his advisors are panicking, trying to put the lid on something that is unliddable.
If he weren't running against Tillis, it might have doomed him.
Yeah.
But given his competition.
So the News and Observer interviewed some people, not a very large sample, but they interviewed some, and I pulled out one quote. A woman named Jordan Zachary said, women like her can separate their disgust over his personal behavior from what they see as the bigger issues. And I'm seeing a lot of that among the group that I'm Facebook friends with and other places, Reddit, things like that. Most of the people are going, I'm voting for Cal.
I mean, I voted for Biden, so I'm used at this in this election. I'm holding my nose a lot.
Yeah, I don't even have to hold my nose very much to vote for Biden. Biden doesn't have this kind of stuff in his background that, it's been alleged, and there's something old that maybe happened 30 years ago. I don't know. He's not coming clean on. But mostly he's too old. He's too stuffy and out of touch, and
that's why
doesn't really aim I'm farther left than he is. I may not be as far left as you are, but I'm farther left than he is.
That's another reason I'm holding my nose.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, but I'd like to see Cal spend the plot of many West Wing episodes and other political pot boilers that how we need to come clean about this. Oh no, if we do that, we're dead.
I don't like infidelity. I don't like non-ethical infidelity. Absolutely do not like it. However, Tillis is the other option, and that's not okay with me. Like, it's a case of which one is worse. Tillis is still worse.
Yeah, and even if it wasn't specifically Cunningham and Tillis, it is electing Biden is only half the job. We have to flip the Senate, because a Biden presidency and a Republican Senate is just another first 2 years of the Obama presidency when they couldn't get anything done because the last 6 years. He had the Senate for 2 years, and then he lost it for 6 years, and that 6 years he got very little done. Because Mitch McConnell. So it's Biden and the Senate, and North Carolina just happens to be really critical this year. Normally we're not, but this year we're not the linchpin. We're not the only thing, but we are one of the things that could be the only thing if some of the other things fall apart. So vote for Cal.
And I reiterate,
vote for Cal.
Tillis is not. Or, you know,
Plus, Tillis sucks.
I mean, it's get rid of Tillis. I don't care how you have to get rid of Tillis. And again, my personal disgust, I am there to take Mrs. Cunningham out to the bar, you know, and you know, help her rebound. I am there to boost her up and straighten her crown, but Homegirl's got to take the lead. I'm not doing it for her because if I were in that position, I wouldn't want somebody else barging in and being so paternalistic and condescending to me as to think that I needed their help to handle my, you know, philandering husband.
Yeah. Who have we got as examples? Anthony Weiner's wife eventually stepped forward and stepped out.
She handled it.
Yeah, it took a while, I think, but
Hillary Clinton, though a lot of people don't agree with how she handled it, she handled it. She stuck Bill on the couch for a while, and they went through therapy, and they decided to reconcile. Let it be.
And it may have been a totally political decision, and who cares? It's a legitimate decision.
She made her bed. She's lying in it.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta. And I noticed nobody is stepping up to help the husband of the woman in the affair, because she was married too, so she was cheating also. And nobody's sitting there getting angry on his behalf because for some reason he's a man, so he can handle it. Can we let Mrs. Cunningham handle it?
Yeah. Looking at some of the additional texts that were not between Cunningham and Guzman Todd, but between Guzman Todd and some unnamed third party, they're pretty petty. You know, it's soap opera territory. I don't know if you had a chance to see any of those.
I don't care.
Oh,
honestly,
they're juicy.
It may be juicy, but like, this is one of the beautiful things about being single in this world at this moment. Like, I live that crap. I don't need to watch anybody else's crap. I live it. I go on dates where I have to search out my date ahead of time to make sure that they're not cheating. Like, I live it. And I have heard from so many people, so many excuses of why they are allowed to cheat. Like, I don't need to see anybody else go through it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're curious as to what's going on in Cal Cunningham's life, find your nearest single friend and just ask them to give you the deets on their dating life. You'll get it much closer to home, and you'll be able to like borrow their phone and just scroll through their texts and read it all. Like, we don't need a cause celeb here. There are enough of us in this world who are living this life right now.
Or just watch almost any primetime TV show. We're watching, this is for later in the show. This is the Jen and Gary show stuff, but we're watching, for the first time, Grey's Anatomy. We've been hunting for a show that had a lot of seasons built up, and we could binge for a while without running through them. And it's a Shonda Rhimes show, so it's, you know, it's
as good
as soap opera.
It's as good as what's it called? The other one.
Scandal.
That's the one.
Tried to watch that. That turned into way too soap opera.
That was ethical non-monogamy, although it started out as non-ethical non-monogamy Scandal. Because in that one, the guy who later became the president of the United States was having an affair with his lead campaign advisor.
Yeah,
and it was a sneak affair at first, but eventually there's an episode where the first lady pulls the other woman in and says, I know about this. I'm totally cool with this. You know, you help support my husband in a way that makes him a better husband for me. The way he was before the affair started and the way he is now, like, I like him better now. We're cool. Fist bump across the board. Like, let's keep this going. And then that's ethical non-monogamy.
Yeah, we were looking for
and then he got twitchy because his secret was out, and like part of the appeal to him was that it was a secret.
We were looking for a West Wing replacement, and it wasn't. The first season wasn't too bad, but then it totally soap operaed. Which is fine if that's what you like. Not what I like. 538 is looking at the Senate race. This is for what am I looking at? Okay, North Carolina Senate race. They have 3 different models. Pick a model. They have what they call their light model. Just looking at polls, and this is a bunch of polls conducted early in October, and then going back farther into September. And Cunningham is leading most current polls, 48 to 42, 46 to Well, okay, 46 to 47 is not leading.
The talking points have hit that Tillis's only rebuttal against the critiques of his own campaign or his own professional ineptitude are, yeah, but look at what Cunningham and his penis have been up to, which is not a rebuttal, Tillis, because that doesn't, it's like Tillis could have gone, yes, I realize there are critiques about this, and this. I have decided to get better. I'm going to make sure Constituent Services actually addresses the problems that people are having. I'm going to try and represent all of North Carolina. I'm going to, hire another staff member who will look at the far-reaching, implications of legislation I'm proposing. He's done none of those things. Instead, he's just tried to point to Cunningham's penis. That's not an answer. That's not even in the realm of an answer.
Yep. So in any case, it looks like Cunningham has got still a decent chance, although this is, I've seen some reports that this is the kind of thing that takes a while to filter down into the public's perception. It may still be too new for very many people to know about it. Now, of course, they watch this show, they'll understand it completely. And our audience, in the millions, we're doing our part to let everybody know what's going on. All right. Anyway, Cunningham may pull it out. Well, we shall see.
I predict he's going to be a one-term senator, but whatever gets Tillis out of office.
Yeah. And that would be fine. Is it really that hard to find good talent to run for Senate in North Carolina and I guess in many other states? Is it really that hard?
Well, I told you, or on the last show, maybe it was in the after show, my experience when I tried to be a candidate for the Democratic Party, and the fact that they walked away at the fact that I had a problem with the capital gains tax rate. I stand by this. I believe that income is income, and that there should be one rate, no matter how your money earns itself. And I understand that there are a lot of people going, no, then nobody would invest. Like, y'all, nobody walks away from free money because an investment is free money. I turn my money into more money. Nobody walks away from free money just because it's slightly less free money than it was 10 years ago. They go, oh, I can turn my $10 into $11. Hot damn, yeah, I'm in. Rather than, oh no, it's not going to turn into $15. I won't give you my 10. Like, it's not.
I think that happens a lot.
Tax rate needs to go.
Yeah, the tax code, the tax system, it is very it's gerrymandered. It's very carefully constructed to favor some things and not favor other things. Besides just making money. So I told the story, and I told the story to point out that I don't think it's that hard to find good candidates. But I think that the parties are working against their own interest by scaring away good candidates, because those candidates have slightly new ideas that the parties are a little too entrenched in the status quo. And so they're scaring away their good talent to the point where people are now going, why would I want to? I just have to put up with you guys trying to shoehorn me into a mold that I don't fit, rather than supporting me for who I am and the ideas I bring and the good I bring to the table. Yeah. So we all lose.
Yeah. I mean, it would be really nice if the old legacy parties were a little more flexible, but I think what we're seeing is, much like we saw the death of the Whigs and the Tories, we are seeing the death of these particular old legacy parties. And what will come next, who knows?
Every once in a while, we see, like Jenna, we see somebody young with progressive ideas that tries to work their way up. But by the time they get very far, they have been beat to shit, beaten down, and eventually just either if they realize if they're going to keep on going, they have to step in line, or maybe they just become corrupt.
Why does line have to be stepped in? Why can't line bulge out to meet you where you are?
Well, because we won't vote for them. Or
won't we?
Maybe we don't get to learn about them because the establishment won't let us know.
And say the thing I always say is electable means that they get elected. It doesn't. You can't tell when somebody's electable beforehand. You can only. That's a hindsight. That's a 2020 thing. Electable means that the majority of the people elected them. And if you don't give the majority of the people the chance to elect them, then of course they're not electable.
So this may be where today's far more ubiquitous communications technology makes a real difference. because they can reach us directly.
Oh, it made a huge difference when Obama ran for president. It made a huge difference because I didn't hear about Obama through the traditional channels. He wasn't on my radar through the traditional channels, but he was on my radar through the non-traditional channels. Well, I guess they're more traditional now, the social medias. I knew about Obama before he spoke at the DNC, which got his name on everybody else's radar. And so I was interested to see what he was going to do and where he was going to go from there, because I'd heard about him already, because he'd already done outreach to voters and in a way that I connect with, which is an educational outreach. He's just been like, I don't want to influence your vote, but here's some things you might not know about civics, or here's some things you might not know about the Constitution. Here's some things you might not know about how constitutional law works. And he was right. I didn't know. Some of it I did.
Yeah,
Most of it I didn't know. And
you are
I
way more
learning.
engaged. You're
the people
more...
who vote are engaged.
Oh, no, they're not.
Oh, we know who votes. That's the thing. When you go and sign up for your ballot, if you look at your voter registration information online, we know who votes. We don't know who they vote for, but we know who votes, and we can do a profile of who votes, and the people who vote are engaged.
They're engaged-ish, and how much they know about what's going on, that's another story. I mean, I don't have a high evaluation of the general electorate. They're influenced by campaign commercials and yard signs and flyers that come in the mail, and
surprisingly,
and mostly
a minority
again
are.
campaign commercials.
Only a minority are, but the thing is, the majority of the people who are
enough
who
to
are
sway things
influenced by
one way or
this,
the other.
the majority. Again, there have been, and you don't just have to take my word for it. There have been studies. They have profiled the average voter. The people who are engaged or who are swayed by yard signs and campaign commercials, their asses don't get to the polls. That's the funny thing.
Well, they're spending a lot of money on those
actually-
commercials.
They are, because they're trying to get their asses to the polls. But those people still don't go. They don't vote. The people who do vote, by and large, are educated and engaged.
Okay. Okay. Well,
When I found that out, it was a source of great relief for me. Also a source of confusion, because I wondered how somebody who was educated and engaged could vote for certain of the people. But it was a source of great relief for me, because I realized that I didn't have to care what a non-voter thought.
yeah. I mean, it took a while for what you were saying to work its way through my brain and arrive at yes, but people voted for Trump. So
Yeah, that was distressing for me. Greatly distressing, especially when I found out my demographic, white women, voted for Trump. Like, what is wrong with us? That is voting against our self-interests. I swear to God, I guarantee you they're going to find out that there was either my demographic needs to come here so I can slap them all upside the head with a dope slap, or they're going to find out that my demographic was the place where there was voter fraud in the future. But that was depressing.
well, there was massive voter fraud, and there still is. But it's these things. This is your massive voter fraud. He said Gary's holding up his mail-in ballot that he will not mail in, that he will carry in. Your mom's joining the show? She's
Telling me to clean up my language.
Not going to happen. Tell your mom, first of all, you're on a show. You're not having a conversation with her. And if she wants to be on the show, she can be. You're not telling your mom any of that. There, she's on the show. Look, there's
I'm not
Jen's mom. She's behind you.
jurisprudence professor. She takes her time worrying about the goodness of law.
Anything else about the Cal Cunningham thing that we need to air out and wring out, squeeze out?
I'm pretty sure we've beaten that horse just about as dead as the passion in his texts.
Yeah. Okay. Did you add anything in here that you wanted to talk about on the show? I'm not seeing anything, but you can bring it up. You don't even have to type it in. You can bring it up. Otherwise, we'll move on to the Reddit.
Hold on. The VP debate, I thought that Kamala Harris showed, I hope I put the emphasis on the right syllable there. This is not meant as a microaggression against her or her name. I consistently have trouble with emphasizing the correct syllable, even when there's an accent mark in Spanish. That is a my fault problem. I thought she handled things beautifully. She did a really great job preventing interruption. I saw he put the VP debate. There wasn't much interrupting. When there was, that she nailed it. I'm talking. Beautiful. Loved it.
Yeah.
In every way.
And she expected this to happen. That was a prepped line.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not sure if she expected it to happen so much as like life has taught her that it happens.
Yeah. Well, but based on the previous, the Trump and Biden debate, we expected Pence to mimic Trump to the extent that he could, which he didn't have he doesn't have that personality. He can't do it as well, but he definitely tried, and she was ready for it, and he fell into the trap.
Yeah. We have a public service announcement, which I predicted. I want to point out that I predicted this. So those of you who bet on my prediction, we win. Let's go cash in our little betting stubs. The Real ID deadline has been pushed forward a whole nother year, actually. So thanks to the pandemic, it is no longer 11 days ago. It is now whatever 365 minus 11 days is.
Okay, you're down in Jen and Gary's show.
Instead of being October, I'm not in Jen and Gary's show. I'm underneath the VP debate. But yes, I predicted the Real ID deadline would be pushed forward. There's another thing that I predicted would be pushed forward, and I've been watching it through Senator Jackson, and that is about car registrations and such. So, but yes, the Real ID deadline has been pushed forward because we just can't get to DMV safely and get it done. And holy crap, guys, did our government actually do a rational thing? It did. Yeah. We deserve to celebrate that. I mean, government is so often a point of frustration, and for once it was actually doing something helpful and relevant. So I think we deserve to celebrate that.
Well, because they couldn't handle it anyway. They were so far behind, even if we hadn't been in pandemic times.
You have more faith in the government than I do. I believe they would have cut off their nose to spite their face. So I'm going to, as we say in classical conditioning, reward the behavior you want to see. So I'm going to give the government a big claps.
Did you get your Real ID already?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I had, I want to say about a year ago, last Labor Day, not the one that just happened, but the one a year prior. Somebody broke into my car and stole, of all things, besides my wallet, which was, they say leave, take, hide. I hid it and they stole it. They also stole my crocheting bag, which must have looked like a purse. So I don't know what they're going to do with like 3 skeins of acrylic yarn and four cheapo crochet hooks and a half-finished project, but God bless them. And if by any chance you happen to have my crochet bag, I would love to have it back, no questions asked, because I do want to finish that half-finished project.
You can bring it back with her first pandemic mask. Bring them both back together.
And my favorite purse pen. That was the other thing that got stolen. But they stole my wallet, which contained my driver's license. And I called DMV and I said, this has happened. I would like a replacement driver's license. And I said, I don't have any proof of anything because they stole that. Also, I can't type in my driver's license number online because it got stolen. So I don't know it. I didn't memorize it. And they said, come in, but we're going to give you a Real ID. So I got an appointment and I got a Real ID pretty immediately.
My secret was I did it, I think last year. It might have been 2 years ago. I think it was last year. And this was during the time when people were talking about horrendous lines, 5-6 hour waits at the DMV offices, trying to figure out if you could go to Zebulon or some office, 50 miles out of Raleigh to find a shorter line.
Carborough.
And and I went one day in October, around my birthday, I think, because my driver's license was expiring. And the place was empty. And I said, why? all you hear on the news and everywhere else is that it's a mess. He says, "Oh, it's been a mess. Last week it was a mess. Next week it'll be a mess. It's not a mess this week because it's the state fair and everybody's there."
Ooh, now that's a tip.
Yeah, except for not this year.
When I went to get mine, there was an hour-long wait in a line to get up to the front, and I walked in and I said, "What happens if you have an appointment?" And I just happened to say it loud enough that the person at the desk could hear it because I got in the line. And I was like, "Is this line for appointments or just for, first come, first serve?" And she was like, "Appointments? Nobody's got an appointment. Come up here." It took me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was in and out in five minutes. Appointments were the best. Although I had to call like a phone number that gave me another phone number that I called that, and they gave me yet another phone number. And then the fifth phone number I called, I could make an appointment.
Cindy did hers by appointment. So that worked. Back to the VP debate. Susan Page from USA Today was the moderator. How did she do?
Good. I mean, I think I'll say this. I think all the moderators did their very, very best. But there's a joke in the childcare community, specifically the nanny community, but it is extended as far as anybody who's ever worked with school children up until high school, where we're like, it's great how they have journalists as moderators, but put a child care worker as the moderator. We got this handled.
Yeah, because you're dealing with children basically at the debate.
Yeah, it's a lot of, and somebody's there's not only like the nannies have come up with responses that we would give to common debate problems, but also somebody who worked for Nintendo back in Nickelodeon back in the time of that Slime Time show where they used to like dump buckets of slime on your head. They said they would love to handle it too, because like interrupt, you get slimed.
Yeah, that's what they need. They need to just squirt gun.
Derail the conversation, and you get the angry Nickelodeon. What's it called from the race? Come after you, the stompy poundy rock. But we were like, turn it into a proper. If you want it to be a game show, turn it into a game show.
I have not watched a minute of Nickelodeon in my life.
There was a great show when I was young. Oh, which would have been, I guess, the 80s or the 90s. I'm trying to remember when I watched it on TV. It's the problem of my youth takes up 2 decades in my mind, where I think it was called You Can't Do That on Television. And it was
I do remember that.
With a buzzer. And if you gave the wrong answer, you got slimed. Like a big bucket of slime suspended in the sky would just dump slime on your head. And I was like, yes, we should slime them for interrupting. That would make the debates worth watching, because they're not bringing up new policy points you haven't heard before. So why would you watch?
Don't watch the debates for policy. I watch them for personality and ability to handle oneself in a live, somewhat difficult situation. I agree. I think at some
point have to run a ninja obstacle course if they commit a bigger problem, like where Trump kept leaving his podium back when he was debating Clinton and like wandering over to hers. Like, hey, at that point, if you leave your appointed space, maybe then you have to run a ninja obstacle course in your suit.
So I agree. Susan Page did a good job within the parameter of the power that they gave her to do her job. Would have been great if she felt she probably could have just assumed more power and say something like, "Mr. Pence, would you please shut up?" But that was Kamala Harris's job, and she did it. Shut up.
I would also like to say that my out of all the people in the room for the debates, but the VP debate, although I think that Miss Page is in a safer position than what was his name who did the presidential debates, Chris Woodward? No. Yes?
Wallace.
No.
Yeah.
Wallace.
Yeah, Mike Wallace's kid.
Mike, what? Man names. They were the most likely to catch COVID and off of a contagious candidate.
Yeah.
And
but
I
apparently
think
he didn't.
I just want to do one of those things which drives military members completely crazy, but thank you for your service.
Yeah. Yep. Well, again, Susan Page had the advantage of having seen what happened with Chris Wallace and Trump. So she came loaded for bear too, and did a better job. But I don't think anybody expected the vice presidential debate to be a rerun of the interruption. The biggest issue for me was that she allowed Pence to go overtime all the time. And he was, he
What's
ran
even the point of a time clock?
20, 30, 40 seconds over almost every answer. And
maybe that's what you should get slimed for. And interrupting, you should have to run the ninja obstacle course.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Kamala Harris's best line of the night, at least for me, with the one where she was saying, "They're coming for you. If you have pre-existing conditions, if you have children under 26 on your healthcare plan, they're coming for you." All that happened in overtime for her, with Susan Page trying to shut her down as well. That would have been much more effective had it been early or the beginning of one of her responses. It was irritating to hear non-responses from both of them. I think Kamala made responses a little bit more often, but both of them dodged questions. And if she
That's what politics is about. It's about dodging the question.
Yeah, except that they're addressing me, the audience, and I want to hear them answer a question. And if they're not going to answer a question, I want to hear them say, "Susan, I appreciate that question. That is not a question I'm not going to answer right now. I'm not going to tell you whether we are planning to pack the Supreme Court at this point. That's a strategic thing that is possible. The Constitution doesn't prohibit it. Some very bad things may be happening by the time that becomes a viable question. It's not right now. I'm not going to make the headline on Fox News about answering that question for you right now." That's what I would like to have heard that question responded to, and it's not what she did.
I much like you, Gary, I really do appreciate it when politicians treat us like hiring managers and answer us with that level of respect.
But they're afraid to.
I do not like it when they treat us like children.
Yeah, but
because after all, we are the hiring managers. We are hiring them. We are not their children, and we do not need things dumbed down for us.
Yeah, an interesting.
And if we do, we can go and ask a civics professor, not them.
An interesting politician to watch evolve in that sort of situation was Pete Buttigieg. As he was first getting into it, I'd listened to a long conversation he had with Preet Bharara on Preet's podcast. It's the first time I heard anything from Buttigieg and learned how to pronounce his name, more or less. And Bharara would ask him a question, and he would answer it. He learned to not do that by the end of the campaign. So that was a little bit sad.
That's one of the things I thought was really good for Buttigieg was the level of respect that he brought for the voter. And I had hoped that the other candidates might get it by osmosis and realize that was some of the wind beneath his wings.
Yeah, but the other way,
but they
though.
did not.
Yeah, it didn't work for him very long either. All right, enough politics. Can I make this play? There we go. You know what this music means?
Time to talk about The Good Place.
It's the Jen and Gary Show. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Jen and Gary Show. It would be the Sarah Jen and Gary Show if Sarah were here. Normally this happens when we get past the 5:30 mark and Brendan has to go do family stuff, but he's been doing family stuff all day, so we didn't get Brendan today. We might get him before the month is over. We'll see. But this is the Jen. I'm not going to be able to out-talk this music.
And Jen is now signing on to her tracked TV dashboard because I have a feeling we're going to discuss things.
Yeah, the first thing I've got in Jen and Gary topic is The Good Place season 5, I think, which finally appeared on Netflix. So I'm just catching up. I'm not binging it too hard because it doesn't have a lot of shows in the season. And but what an awesome show.
So as a cord nebber, I have never owned the TV in my house. It has been provided by my housemate, and my housemate of 5+ years is moving on and spreading his wings. He's going to be moving in with his best friend, and he's moving out. So I will soon be having 0 TVs in my house, and that means I will have to find a new way to watch The Good Place because I was watching The Good Place on his TV.
Well, it's on Netflix. I mean, now they ran their fifth season on whatever TV network it was on. And I did not watch it in real TV time, but it just appeared on Netflix as bingeable full season, and I'm kind of working my way through it. It took me a while to warm up to that show. For those of you that have never seen it, the premise of the show is a woman dies and ends up in
the bad place.
But
is being lied to that it is the good place.
Yeah.
And she has to live with her, well, die with, live with, whatever, exist with the concept that she is the one mistake the supernatural almighty has made in this good place, because everybody else is supposed to be there and she's not. And so she is supposed to be eternally tortured by her guilt.
And I bought that concept lock, stock, and barrel in the first season, and they turned it around on me.
So, and then, then they, that's a good for a season. And then they explore in the subsequent seasons many, many different ways with the same ensemble cast that they can deal with their concept of the afterlife.
Yeah.
And then they have the final place, which is where you just sort of dissolve, you're ready to move on, and you cease to exist permanently.
Yeah, I haven't got there yet. That's a spoiler alert.
Well, no, because they do mention it in the first season as well. It's just nobody ever goes there. You're aware that you're in either the good place or the bad place for as long as it takes you to fully process your life and having lived it, and then you're ready to die from your afterlife, and then at that point you go to the nowhere else place.
They don't get conventionally religious about any of this stuff. It's don't worry about that.
They don't have
they
don't have angels. They don't have demons. It's just the good place and the bad place. And
well, actually, they have demons. Is this the last season? Is it done?
I believe it is. Season 5 is the last one.
Okay, which is the one that just hit Netflix.
Yes.
Finished out on whatever
it was
TV
on
network
CBS.
it was on.
What's CBS All Access until now. But I have been watching movies lately. I have not been watching TV.
Watching movies, how?
On various movie streaming services.
Oh, okay, on your little computer.
Yes, or on my housemate's TV, because he's still living with me for another month.
You can buy a TV. They'll sell you one. Best Buy.
I could, but I'm not sure that I want to, because if I have it, then I'll use it, and I know this because I've used his. Whereas if I don't have it, then I'll read more.
Yeah, I don't read anything anymore.
I want to be
TV is too easy.
I want to be the person who reads more. Just because I've noticed a positive correlation in between reading the written word and my spelling improving. And I mean, that's so much easier way to improve my spelling than like memorizing spelling words.
Spell check. Google.
Not always. Spell check doesn't spell check a fountain pen.
Well, okay. Yeah, you got a point there. But I mean, because I don't write stuff anymore. Even if I did, it was always illegible after the first 2 lines. I could do very good cursive. I gave up on for decades ago. But just printing, I can print the first 2 or so lines very nicely, very neat. Looks like 4th grade, but pretty good. And then it just goes to shit. I'm using that word because we've already pushed the explicit button. Otherwise, I would have just said go to hell. Anyway, so the best thing I learned in junior high school was how to type. Bless my 8th grade 7th grade, maybe 6th grade typing teacher for learning touch typing. That's been probably the one skill that has been the most valuable to me since I developed any skills. You're looking at something on your computer, aren't you?
I am typing up how many of the things that I've watched while I'm listening to you talk about typing.
Oh, okay. So anyway, the Google ability to predict words and correct my typing and all that stuff that has gotten so good, and they even get the context right most of the time, so that the words that that could be, you could be misspelling something and end up with something different. They're getting better at catching all that stuff. It's not perfect yet, but they're getting better at it. So, and plus, who cares if you can tell what a word was? Who cares if it's spelled right?
Okay, Sir Walter Raleigh.
Was that his deal?
In the time of Sir Walter Raleigh and the founding of North Carolina, oh, pardon my burping, as a colony, that was like a 1 out of 10 as burps go. I can give you a better one. Spelling was considered very fluid.
As well it should be.
And Sir Walter Raleigh, actually, this is a fun fact that I learned in 4th grade, and I'm quite sure that I've brought up on this show before. Sir Walter Raleigh never spelled his name Raleigh, not at once. He spelled his name many, 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 many different ways, and never that way, which is what makes Raleigh very interesting.
How did we get that?
I have no idea, because the linguists decided that they would put it together, and I don't know. Not linguists, lexicographers. But that's so they decided to standardize spelling sometime later than that. But I want to spell correctly, and I'm putting this in proper air quotes, just because I don't want anything to stand in the way of anybody else getting the meaning that I'm trying to transmit. Since for me, handwriting or typing, but more handwriting, because I enjoy the tactile experience of writing with a pen on paper, is the only way I have of communicating my thoughts to somebody 100 years from now. I want it to be accessible to somebody 100 years from now. I want to future-proof it.
By then, the language will have changed so much that it's almost going to be indistinguishable from whatever it is they're speaking now. I mean,
we have these great books that are going to be the Rosetta Stone, and they're called the dictionary. And if you can look my words up into the dictionary, then they'll be able to translate it into future English.
No one's going to care.
But
I mean, I can barely communicate. I can barely communicate with a 22-year-old at this point.
You say that, but I have great hopes that my writings will survive. That's why I use archival inks in my fountain pen.
So, assuming that YouTube is still around 100 years from now, and that this program has been archived long past when we have turned to dust, can you people in the year 2120 understand, and can you understand anything we are saying? Or is it gibberish to you?
Let's face it, we can understand Chaucer.
No. I don't know about Chaucer, but I took English. I flunked English 5 out of 4 years in high school. And a big part of that was, what the hell is this Shakespeare stuff? Does not make any sense.
Shakespeare was innovative for his day. He invented a lot of words. His plot lines.
Words, sentences.
By the way, those of you on the audio-only podcast, I'm wiggling my hand to say, his plot lines. His words were good. He invented a lot of useful words.
Yeah, many of which we used to do. I have no idea where they came from. Okay, and so I'm not Chaucer. Get into the, would I be able to understand some Chaucer?
In Old English, no. But if you've ever watched The Knight's Tale, and that is a movie I have watched recently, then you can understand some Chaucer, because The Knight's Tale is straight out of Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. He had one of his Canterbury Tales was called A Knight's Tale, and it is that story.
Yeah, but is it the Cliff Notes version, or is it the original, the OG?
You can understand the OG version if it's translated into modern English. And the thing is
that's the point. Translated into modern English. Okay.
Well, the future people will be able to translate my English into their English, because we've got dictionaries. If I spell it like the dictionary, and Chaucer spelled things like the dictionaries, and therefore it was translatable. That's why I'm saying that my spelling serves a purpose greater than just to make me feel like I'm some academic sitting high up in my ivory tower feeling good about myself.
But the dictionary keeps filling itself up with the new words,
which are spelled in a particular way. And I want the words as I spell them on the page to be able to be looked up in the dictionary in that same spelling, so that people can go, oh, what she means by that is this.
Yeah, I gave up on English a long time ago because it is just such a convoluted language.
It is.
I took
As Indo-European goes, this one's the worst.
Yeah, I took a couple years of Spanish, and Spanish taught me how bad English was. Spanish is bad enough, but English, it's like if I had not grown up speaking English, I have so much respect for people who come from other countries and learn English.
Wait till you meet Esperanto.
I have a passing familiarity with the existence of Esperanto. I understand it. The point is
man-made language.
Yeah, the point is 100% regular, 100% consistent.
Yep.
And 100% no one speaks it. But
there may be 70 speakers in the world.
When you get someone who makes fun of someone from a different who grew up with a different language and is just learning English, and they say the words like I be thinking, that is perfectly consistent in English with language structure, because the verb to be is probably the worst example of a verb that has no consistency at all. To be, I be. Why can't we say I be? I am.
I'm fine with it. The only problem is it's not going to be translatable for the future. That's all. That's all.
It could be more translatable for the future. When someone looks up the verb to be, oh, clearly, I be, you be, he be, she be.
That's Esperanto right there.
Well, yes. What?
But no, my spoken English is street English, and I'm putting it in air quotes again. But my written English, when I'm writing great thoughts and treatises for the future, of which I have written a whopping 3, I codified what an event is because, here's what I've been doing this past week. You ready for it? There is no definition of the word event which restricts it to a specific time. So when you say I've created a Facebook event to, go to the park and throw a Frisbee, and you're like, Facebook event, right? So you go look up the word event. There's nothing that says that it can only last from 8 a.m. to noon on Saturday. There's nothing that requires a temporal distinction for your event. And now Gary's going to look it up to check me. It's not. So I have been recodifying event. It just says a thing which happens.
Especially one of importance. A planned public, planned seems to infer.
Yes, there's a lot of inference, but it is not made explicit. So I've been working on a new definition of event because this is what I do for fun, ladies and gentlemen. I've been working on a new definition of event that actually involves a time period explicitly.
Yeah. So Merriam-Webster
still doesn't have a time period.
Noteworthy happening, a social occasion or activity, an adverse or damaging medical occurrence. Yeah. Nothing. You're absolutely right, Jen. What's your plan?
So I've called it a temporally distinct happening or occurrence.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, but it involves the time. And the reason that we got into this is because I had some friends argue over, so in Facebook, when you create an event, and I'm just going to use Facebook as an example because one of the venues that we broadcast the Triangle Talk Show on is Facebook, at the Facebook group Triangle Talk Show. So those of you there understand at least somewhat of how Facebook works. But in Facebook, you can only have a Facebook event last for 2 weeks. Facebook will not allow you to extend the time period of your event beyond that. But if your event starts, you can keep kicking out that last day indefinitely. So somebody was complaining.
You can put one out farther than 2 weeks in the future, but you can't make it last longer than 2 weeks.
You can't make it last. Like if you're having a birthday party, your birthday party lasts for 2 weeks. Yeah. I realized that my picture froze, but I hope my audio is still coming through.
The internet did a very interesting thing because you were going through the word lasts, and the internet made your word last. It went to last. It's great. Perfect.
I'll take it.
Perfect, internet.
I'll take it. So my friends were complaining because some of them signed up for a Facebook event. I think it was a clothing drive or something. And it just kept going and going because the people who created the event kept kicking that last day out so that it was always 2 weeks of a time span. Always.
Yeah.
And finally they were like, this isn't an event. we know what an event is. An event has a start and a middle and an end. This is not an event. There is no end.
Yeah, kind of like this show.
And there were other people who were like, yeah, you're right. That's not an event. We should report it for spam. And then it turns out you can't because event doesn't require the definition of the word event doesn't require an end. And I said, aha, this is the great overlooked thing of the 21st century. And we are in a position to solve it. So we are working on codifying event with an explicit temporal distinction.
Yeah, but you need better than three long word. One of which no one ever uses.
So I'm working on it with some people who are junior lexicographers, and we're trying to figure it out because this is a correction that the dictionary needs.
You're doing that when you could be watching television, doing something useful.
I am doing that when I could be watching television, but I'm also watching A Knight's Tale. I watched that. That was fun.
Okay.
Now I'm going to read a translation of the Knight's Tale. I have at my mom's house, which is where I am right now. In downstairs in the room she maintains for me. It was my childhood bedroom. Ah, so cute. I have
Looks
a
nice
copy of the translated Chaucer. So I'm going to, which I never read. And now I'm going to pull it out and turn to the Knight's Tale, Canterbury Tales, and read it. Because I want to see how it differs from the movie.
Tell me all about it when you're done.
I slightly expect that it will be, with the exception of the modern music and the weird hairstyles, might actually be accurate.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the last novel type book that I went through. It could be the Harry Potter series. I actually read all those books, believe it or not, because didn't have the movies yet. The first movie came out before the last book came out, but I still read the book, even knowing there was going to be a movie. And the movies were great, and then J.K. Rowling turned out to be shit.
She's a TERF, but again, this is similar to Cunningham. I can separate the artist from the art.
Okay.
A TERF is a trans exclusionary radical feminist.
I didn't even realize you used a word I didn't know what it meant. I have no idea.
Yeah, she is a TERF,
exclusionary
radical feminist, which is a pejorative or not, depending on whether or not you align with her views on whether people who become women late in life or outwardly appearing women late in life get to count as having received the systemic oppression or the systemic double standard, sometimes oppression, sometimes challenges, sometimes that people who are cis women from birth have experienced.
Okay, so the trans exclusionary is excluding trans women from your definition of women.
Women and being a feminist only for cis women, only for those who are birth to death women. I am not a TERF, but I can certainly, if they weren't quite so radical about it, I could certainly understand where the people who want to exclude trans women might have some concerns. And those are, and while trans folks do have their own set of challenges in childhood, the one set of challenges they're not experiencing are the challenges experienced by the gender that they feel that they should be, but aren't at that moment.
So they've had a lifetime, assuming we're talking about male to female, mm-hmm. They've had a lifetime of the privilege of being male.
The childhood privilege of being male, while also the challenges of feeling internally as if you're in the wrong body. They get their own challenges, but the challenges they didn't get was the childhood of a girl.
I wonder if one outweighs the other. They're different, but
they're different, and I don't think we need the oppression Olympics. I don't think we need to award a gold medal, a silver medal, and a bronze medal here, which is why I am not trans exclusionary. But I understand that the people who are trans exclusionary are worried that the challenges experienced by girls
internet is grabbing your word again and holding it back,
or some way pushed to the side.
Yeah, and it goes way beyond what you were saying the other day, which is you don't need to understand math. You're a girl.
Yeah, it goes beyond that. But again, the trans exclusionary radical feminists, if they would tone it down like 700 notches, all they want is the challenges of girls not to be ignored.
Which they're, if that's what they would say, then we would all go, well, yeah, That makes sense.
Yeah, again,
one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, again, the word radical in there is not meaning radical like, oh my God, we've never thought of that before, but radical is in like, just too strong, honey, too strong. You got to pull it back. Yep. They're coming in a little rabid and picking the wrong enemy here, in my opinion. But Rawling is a TERF. She's a trans exclusionary radical feminist. If you listen to any of her statements, you can see that she does not consider trans women to be women because they did not have girl challenges. And that's ridiculous.
I mean, it's valid. It's true. They didn't. They had different challenges. And how does that change?
The gatekeeping of womanhood at the other end is. So
the ultimate conclusion of that is we should not allow trans people to be considered women because they did not go through those challenges. That's where the
TERFs are going. That's their conclusion at the end. They start in the right place, but they end in the wrong place. The right place to start is that girl challenges are valuable. The wrong place to end is that therefore anybody who didn't have them aren't women.
Yeah. And anybody who doesn't understand them, anyone who has never heard of them, anyone who does not have a concept of what they are, they're just called men.
I don't know that TERFs have gone that far, but they're more concerned with gatekeeping the term women. And, again, but she wrote some very entertaining, very diverting Harry Potter books that got turned into some very diverting movies. And again, you can separate the art from the artist. Yeah. Or maybe you can't, in which case there are plenty of other fantasy in that genre, and I would be happy to recommend you some off of my Goodreads list.
So as someone who is very, very literate, English literate and all that stuff, I considered the Harry Potter books to be not that great literature. They were just kind of childish.
It was upper elementary was the intended audience for the way they were written.
It wasn't that I wasn't entertained, but it was like, okay, I'm understanding this, but the plot lines, the construction, all this stuff seems, it may be above Trump's level, but it was not above mine. Sounds like Mom needs you for something.
She does.
She gave you a cookie.
She wants me to eat my dinner.
Okay.
She made me dinner.
Well, we've gone past 6 o'clock. I've been hearing lots of thunking downstairs in the kitchen, so Cindy has been concocting something as well. So it's time to end this episode of the Triangle Talk Show. This has been episode 116. We actually talked about the title, the titular subject.
Yes.
To a great degree. Ignorable Infidelity. Is that?
I'm trying to put a background on this fly. So for those of you on the audio only podcast, there is a fly on the Triangle Talk Show logo. And I swear it's a dragonfly, but now that I'm giving it a background, I realize that may be a clear wing as opposed to, I'm trying to point to it, maybe a clear wing as opposed to a tail section. It may actually be a Drosophila. Drosophila melanogaster are the fruit flies. I don't know what the big house flies are called.
Let me make this perfectly clear. Boom.
Ah, yes, it is a clear wing.
Okay, so it's a fly.
It's a house fly.
All right.
And it's got red eyes. This is a great genetic modification thing. They come in red eyes and black eyes. And you can mate them and figure out how the genes for red and black travel through populations.
Yep. I've also got one down on Cal's collar down there. I went nuts with the fly thing because today was a gray, drizzly, dreary day. We have had so many beautiful Sundays where I've had to get up early and get out on my bike or walk or do something and then get back and cleaned up to do the podcast. But I was here. You were here. We made it back for the podcast. But today was a perfect Sunday podcast day because it was just a dull, dreary day. So I had some time. I had some time to play with the flies. You are Nanny Jen. I took one off the president thing. I got a feeling I beat you over the head with that, like plenty. Mm-hmm. So I took that. Although I'm doing it again right now. So
feel free to just not vote for Trump.
Yeah. Be fine. And his name occurs inside this envelope. There is no filled-in oval in that territory. Have you done a nanny cast in a while?
We have. We did an episode on, I can't remember what, and we're still waiting to edit down our episode on consent in the small child from International Nanny Training Day. So once those files come back in, we will edit it down and post it up.
Who does that editing work for you?
Me, myself, and me.
Okay, so you do it. What program do you use?
Audacity. I use Audacity. I like working with a destructive audio editor.
It is. I had been an Audition person for a long, long time, and Pro Tools, and then on this computer that I'm dealing with here, this computer didn't have Audition on it, and I'm using it on 2 other computers, and your license is for 2 computers. So I put it on Audacity, and because everybody said, "Oh, Audacity is great. It's free and it works great." No, Audacity is terrible. Audacity is very limiting. Although I could learn it better, but
I want it just for cut and paste, so it works. It works so much more easily than I have RX something or other, and I have what's the other one that comes standard on Macs? GarageBand, which are both non-destructive audio editors, and I find that they're beautiful for not destroying your audio. Because when you delete sections, you don't really delete sections. And Audacity, when you delete sections, they're gone, son.
You better be sure that, if you got the original stuff, you can get it back, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, but that's what destructive and non-destructive means. And
on the other hand,
I need Audacity to do that for me.
Yes, because I think I may know where you're going here. I have left things in that I didn't intend to leave in, and then you render it out and you're playing it back, and all of a sudden, where'd that come from? Oh, I left that on this line of audio somewhere that I wasn't looking at anymore.
Yeah, I'm good at instantly deciding what needs to go and what needs to stay, and I trust my judgment on that. So Audacity works for me. It does not work for everybody, and I'm not saying it's an everybody tool, but it is the right tool for my job.
What it doesn't do very well is let you take breaths out. You have to be very careful. And you can tell someone who's first of all is not listening on headphones, and who doesn't understand Audacity very well, because they'll have a breath cut in half. And if you want to deep breath, you have to leave the space, and so that's a little more pushing around. And
I've learned that I've put in a shortcut key on my Audacity for just rendering silence. I highlight the breath and I render it to silence.
Yeah, that works. See, you learn more about Audacity than I knew in the first place. I use it to trim up this show and to make the MP3 file. Brendan's not here, but I had to show you this anyway because see the fly?
There's a fly on his nose.
And Sarah's not here. I took away her I want to say hedgehog. It's a porcupine, and totally replaced it with a fly. I could have played that. You could have seen the fly.
It's now official. The hedgehog is officially, or the porcupine is officially the animal of the Libertarian Party. It had been unofficial for many, 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 many years because libertarians don't like telling one another what to do, but they finally decided to tell one another what to do and make it official.
We could go on to a long discussion about the flat organizational philosophy versus hierarchical, and how one works or doesn't versus another, but we shall leave that to another day. I am Gary Pierce. I am still Mr. October. Birthday coming up. Large, expensive presents.
Get him a fountain pen, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Teach him to like writing again.
Totally decorative. It'll sit in this cup that sits over my head and never get used. The week that includes my birthday, which is October 22nd, that following Sunday, there'll be no Triangle Talk Show.
Oh, you're a Scorpio.
I am on the cusp. Technically, it's Libra, but it's because Scorpio starts on the 23rd.
Oh.
Depends on which
a Scorpio
calendar you're looking at. But when you sit on the cusp, you have, as I understand it, and of course I don't believe in any of this crap, you have elements of both.
So you're a well-rounded person.
Which means that I just get to choose which piece that I'm going to accept. Anyway, the Sunday, so we got one more show next Sunday, and then the Sunday after that, there will be no Triangle Talk show. So good thing you're enjoying the hell out of this one. I did the show thing, right? Yeah, vote for Cal anyway. We're done. We're done with that. And so that is it for this Triangle Talk show. Over.
And fly.
We'll go with that.